Join me in the, there we go. Let me open up the city council meeting, and if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, can I have roll call, City, please?
Counselor Dunsmuir.
Present.
Counselor Gates.
Here.
Counselor Hughes.
Here.
Counselor Lidkey.
Here.
Counselor Strobel.
Here.
Counselor Tenbush.
Here.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Here, thank you very much, Sadie. Okay, we are at the first citizen and community group comment. Do I have anybody in the holding?
Yes, I think Brent wants to speak first
Okay.
and give a chamber update.
All right, great.
All right. Hey, thank you guys very much. I know you got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm, again, just before you as one of the Estacada Chamber of Commerce members. We just had our annual planning session on Saturday morning, and we're real excited about what's happening in the chamber and, of course, in the community. I've been with you often, so I don't think I need to go over all the things about our membership and all that we're doing. Maybe just again, focus your attention on tourism. And we're excited that we have some stronger partnerships in our county and other chambers. We partnered with the Sandy Chamber of Commerce in some exciting ways this year, as well as Oregon Mount Hood territories. And so we're gaining some traction in tourism. We're looking forward to the spring and summer when everybody again. So with all that you guys are doing, we just want to keep reminding you that tourism is something that we've been tasked with for, and we're excited to move that ahead, and reminding all of you as well that as you steward the dollars for the city, that all that we can do to make sure the infrastructure is ready for tourism when they head this way, that's going to benefit all of us. One last thought. We only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. So I've hounded you. It's maybe too hard of a word. I've reminded you guys often that when people drive into Estacada, what they see first kind of sets the tenor. So as you think of that beautiful sign that you put in Estacada and all the landscaping along the road, and then if you come to Estacada across, the first thing you see of Estacada is that beautiful parking lot. So all of things do invest now to make sure you have staff and people in place to make sure those are as beautiful. That just gives everybody a good first impression of Estacada if they're new. And of course, it makes us all feel better about our community as well when it looks good when we drive into our. I just think it's really good money spent that way. So it's going to come back to us in some ways. So thank you again for all of that you guys do. We appreciate working with you and your support of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next person in the queue.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't.
Nobody?
Nope.
Okay. All right. We will continue on with the consent agenda. It contains our workshop minutes, the last council meeting, and a resolution approving annexation of the property to the city of Estacada. So you all had a chance to look that over. Can I have a motion, please? Chair, your mic's off, I think. There you go. I'm not hearing him. Not hearing it.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion on the
Second.
floor. Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much for that. We are at department and committee reports. So committee and commissions, I will start off with you, Jerry. You're closest to my pictures, though. Sorry about that.
I've only had one meeting since the last council meeting, and it was Arts Commission. The new commissioners came in and took over some of the planning for a couple of the projects that the previous commissioners were doing. They've got a lot of great ideas coming up for 2022, and it's exciting. It sounds like they've got a good plan in place, and they're going to follow through. Their first event is actually Wednesday night this week at Harmony Bakery. It's One Page Wednesdays, where they're going to have a couple of writers, professional published writers, come in and read a couple of pages of stuff that they have written, and then they're going to give the community an opportunity to each read one page of something that they have written themselves, not just come in and read somebody else's work. But it's exciting. It's going to be. I'm going to head down. It's 7 o'clock on Wednesday. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe get to see some local talent.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Charity.
I have nothing at this time. I will next time though.
Okay, great. Justin.
I have nothing at this time either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Joel.
Yeah, I don't think my committee met and I haven't got any notification of it, so.
Okay. Katie.
I got nothing.
Okay. Paul.
Nothing from me either this time around as well.
All right. And on my note, I had C4. The whole meeting was held up with TriMet. TriMet's making a lot of changes in their routes and their services and what they have to work with. And they're looking to cities to help promote TriMet in their area and help fund it, which I don't know if we have the resources to do something like that. Our routes as of yet hasn't changed. We're still the same. And I think they've been appropriate. I haven't heard any complaints that the routes that we have are suffering any at this point. Have you, Denise?
Well, I was under the impression that our routes were reduced, but if they said not that, then that's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in that. They didn't mention it. So I'm thinking that hasn't happened yet. I know they talked about it, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Did they give you like information, like could you forward your packet, or did you get information from them that showed did they have a PowerPoint or?
They didn't have a PowerPoint. They just
Okay.
spoke on it. Sam spoke
Okay.
on it, and TriMet and all
Okay.
the bleeders that come off of the main,
Okay.
the main TriMet. But the whole meeting was TriMet, and where they're going to find funding to increase or to try to make these routes work. And talking about the islands like Malala, Estacada, parts of Canby, and other areas that aren't receiving service because they're outside the boundary. So they're trying to figure out ways to deal with SAM and some other agencies to accomplish that connection so that we can get better routes to get in. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, there wasn't anything else on the C4 list. They scheduled everything for the next meeting because they cram-packed it with TriMet. But that's all I have. So thank you. And then we have the city manager's report.
So as you all know, you got the new schedule where we've extended the city manager search. And so you'll be interviewing in mid-March instead of February for that. And also, I'm still working on the commission and committee review that you guys wanted me to take a look at to be sure everything was being handled equally between commissions and committees. And I did find a city that has a really good way that they do it. They have designations, commission, committees, and one other thing that, and then they describe how you are a commission, or what the difference is between a commission, committee, and what was the third one? There's three different, anyway,
board.
and I'm kind of, pardon?
A board.
A board, yeah. And so I'm kind of going with that because it really made sense that that's how you would name your things with the amount of you know, some of them are state, like committee, the budget committee is a state guided thing. So I'm working on that. I hope to have it to you at your next meeting, because remember we had talked about
Yeah.
Some of the other committees and making and looking into the defining what their roles were. So
Yeah.
I'm working on that, and it should be to you at the next meeting.
Appreciate that. Thank
Mayor, I
you.
can't raise my hand for you can see me, so sorry, I
Okay.
apologize. Can I ask a
That's
question?
fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Hey, Denise, for the, could you also provide some of the other cities, maybe just as a kind of a balancing, so when we're looking at the information, we can
Yeah.
kind of see what other
Sure.
cities are doing versus that one. I like the idea of it. I just was kind of curious to see, so we kind of, you know, feel like I do my due diligence on it.
Yep.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thank you. And anybody else got their hand up in the dark screens? Because I can't see. No? Okay. All right. So is that all you have, Denise, then? So we'll move on. Okay. I'll move on to council business. When it's time to elect the council president. I know, Paul, you've been doing it. Are you enjoying?
Raising hand here.
Oh, we got a raised hand. Okay, go ahead. Joel?
Yep, I'd actually like to nominate a new one. If I could. I'd like to
Okay.
nominate Charity Hughes. I think she's, you know, been in for a year. She's well balanced, and if she's up for it, I'd like to, you know, have a new shot, someone new at this time, and it's kind of, maybe we can change out every year. So
All right. Well, I think we'd ask Charity. Charity, is this something that you would be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in it. That's funny because I was just gonna renominate Paul, but we'll let the council decide. So, but I'm interested and open to it.
Okay. All right. Well, let me put it up. Does anybody want to second the motion for Charity? Am I seeing any motions? No? Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'll
Um,
nominate Paul.
All right. So we have a nomination for Paul.
And
What's that? You second? Okay.
I
I got a
second.
first. Okay, I got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, Paul, I guess you're going to continue on, my friend. I hope that was something
Did-
you wanted to do.
Did we have any
Great.
no's? I'm sorry, did we have any no's on that vote?
yeah, I put no.
Joel was in that.
Prefer
Joel's a
to
no.
see
Okay.
Charity as to someone new, just change every year, but that's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, that takes care of that. So thank you, people. We're moving on to the next thing. I have ordinance 2022-001, an ordinance amending chapters 2.36 emergency management of the Estacada Municipal Code. Okay, so you all had a chance to read. I have a hand up, Joel.
Yeah, so I got a chance to kind of read through this, and I do have some concerns with it.
Okay,
First of all, it looks like we're just nixing like 98% of this entire amendment, which doesn't sit well with me, because I believe that our emergency plan needs to be written, some of it into our ordinances and not just sitting in a plan somewhere. So some things I would like to see, my changes would be one towards one of the new things. It says significant or substantive changes in the emergency operations plan shall be submitted as needed by the city manager. I'd like to have the as needed taken out and just be submitted by the city manager to council, because I think any significant or substantive changes should always come to the council, and there shouldn't be any defining piece as needed. So, but anything that's minor changes, you know, like spelling corrections or updating phone numbers, I don't see that a reason to bring it to the council. But the other part too that I would like to see and to stay in the ordinance, because I think it's important, is because the ordinance, the reason why I'm so big on having it in the ordinance, because the ordinance is law. That is what's written, and that is as I mentioned before, that is the rock in which we're supposed to build off of. And by removing all that stuff, all those pieces out of there, that takes away that strong foundation that technically everything's supposed to be built upon is that law. And it just puts it into a plan that can be changed at a whim without being set and having the certain motions and everything else go through it. So my piece here is, I think that the succession of authority, because the way it's written in the plan, should stay in the under the ordinance. because it's written in enough ways where it's not going to change by names or anything else often. So that can be a concrete thing that we can leave in there. Plus, I think some of the other things that need to stay in there is our regulation and control. That should definitely stay in an ordinance, because it should be our ordinances that are guiding and controlling our plans, not just sitting in a plan somewhere. It should be written into our code that we have to build off of from there. I think that's a foundational thing of most governments and most laws. So those are the type of things I'd like to see. Whatever out of the plan fits under those categories, I think are the things we should be keeping in our ordinance, and the rest, I can live with that in there.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on that? Besides that, before I go to Melanie, I want to find out if this is something that it's workable, something that we could work into that. So does anybody want to talk on this before I go to Melanie? I'm not seeing any hands on my screen.
Oh,
Jerry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm fine with those changes that Joel had talked about. That doesn't cause me any concern, and that actually makes a lot of sense to me. So I would be fine with that if that's something that we can work out according to Melanie here.
Okay.
And I'm actually good with how it is. I mean, I don't know if we can just make a motion, or do we need to?
I second Counselor Gates.
Okay.
So we'll make a
is the
motion and leave it as is then?
I'm good with how it is.
Is that okay, Melanie?
Yeah,
You're the one that's working on.
yeah,
or
because you
Denise?
can discuss it after the motion is made still, so it doesn't make any difference, yeah.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
No,
Aye.
I think,
Oh, we have to talk
Oh,
first.
roll call?
I
discussion.
think you should give people a chance to talk about the motion first, because,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, unless
So-
there is no more discussion, but that usually after the motion is made, then you say, does anyone want to discuss it? So I think,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
What?
All right. So we have the motion on the floor. Does anybody want to discuss? Joel, is your hand up or?
Yeah, my hand's up.
Okay.
So honestly, I mean, we're so quick to constantly rush to these motions and voting and getting it through and stuff. Can we as a council please just take time to discuss and think about what was proposed? And I think
100%.
we owe it to the people of Estacada to at least consider what's been proposed and to put some things into our laws and not just have it in a document, at least
Are we
consider.
discussing what this is, or are we gonna badmouth councilmen?
I'm not counseling, I'm saying we should.
No,
discuss
actually
it.
you are. You're assuming something that's not true. So we
Is it
can
not-
discuss it. So discuss it, but don't go and
Hey,
try to tell
guys,
me what I.
This is not the place to argue
Yeah.
that point.
Well, then
okay,
you should probably
please.
tell him to stop saying what he's saying.
The counselors don't argue with each other. Joel, don't blame anybody.
Thank you.
It's not anybody's thing here. We're just trying to get through this civilly. Let's try to get through the rest of this meeting in that way.
May I continue, Mayor? I'm not
Yeah.
blaming anybody. I'm saying quickly, there's been motions made. This is a fact. Okay. And I would like us to
I
discuss.
think we
it.
could move on, Mayor.
I
It's
think
my
I'll be
time-
the
my
judge
time,
of who
Justin.
moves
Thank you.
on and who
Then-
doesn't, Justin, but thank
I
you.
want to go over and explain why I'm saying this, okay? If you look at, and laughing at me when I'm trying to do this, Justin, is disrespectful too.
Well, and you saying what you said is disrespectful, actually. So there's that too, Joel.
Okay, we're gonna move on right now from this. Katie, do you have a question?
No question, sir. I was going to give my 2 cents as to the discussion, which is that I believe that redundancies tend to be complicated and confusing. And this is a really good way of simplifying, saying, if you'd like to know what our emergency operations plan is, please refer to the emergency operations plan, which I do trust that the city staff are going to make readily available on our city website once, once we've approved this. So that was just my 2 cents that I wanted to give as part of the discussion. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Anybody else? Joel?
Hey, Sean, this is Paul.
Oh, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine with it as it was presented as well too. I'm open to hearing Councilor Litke's thoughts on this, but overall, I thought as it was presented, fairly, and as is seems fine for me as well too.
Okay. All right.
First of all,
So-
my apologies if someone was offended by my statement, so I'll retract those. So the reason why I'm proposing this is I've looked at several other cities, Sandy, Malala, Gresham, Troutdale. I've looked at a lot of the way that their emergency plans are. Every single one of those, including Portland and all of them, they all have certain pieces that are in their ordinances. For example, they have stuff like their succession of authority. That's in their ordinances. They have stuff like regulation and control. That's in their ordinances. These type of pieces are normal to have in an ordinance to guide an emergency plan because there are financial things and everything else that has to happen. So there has to be laws and things that go behind those, and it has to be set in an ordinance. And I'm sure there's lots of other reasons I don't even know about. But in the consistency of what other cities do, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, they have those. I think we at least owe it to the people of Estacada to figure out what those are and to look in there. And those are the ones that I found consistent amongst all of them in their ordinances. So that's what my proposal is for us to look at that and discuss that and at least have the chance to review that before we make its decision and a motion to go forward. This is all referring to due diligence.
Okay, anybody wish to comment to that?
Mayor, I
Right.
can't, this is, oh, go ahead, Councilor.
Charity, go
Right, and no, and that's why I was saying like that's, and that's fair, and that was something I hadn't considered, Councilor Litke, and that's why I was going to defer to Melanie Wagner before people chimed in. So go ahead, Melanie, I'd like to hear what you had to say on that.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that I think there's a variety of ways to do this, and just what's going to work for Estacada is what we're looking to you for. Staff was recommending keeping it as simple as possible in the code and just pointing to the plans that we have and giving more power to those plans, because there's the general emergency operations plan, and then it also addresses the other response plans and policies that we have in place. And so I think really there's not necessarily a right answer here. It's just what's best for how we're going to function. And so it's totally fine if we want to add some more in. If you're comfortable leaving it this way, that the majority of you, that's fine. And if it feels better to add some back in, we can totally do that. The regulation and control, I'm not sure. I'd like maybe a little bit more direction on what would go in from that, or we could just, we could read through it and try to put the kind of the major points from that in there. Succession of authority would be easy to put in there. So it's however you think. When Denise and I were looking at other cities, we did find both ways. Some cities have basically the whole plan in the code, but we just felt that, like you said, redundancy makes it, sometimes we can get confused between the two, or we get one changed and miss a little line in another one. And so we wanted to just keep it as clear as possible. That's why this was our recommendation, but we're really open to whatever you feel is best for how we're going to function. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Katie, you have a question?
I wouldn't call it a question necessarily, but I appreciate what Melanie said about giving power to the other documents. And really, I just want to clarify what I mean by that. If we put something in our code that says, if you have questions about our emergency operations plan, look at our emergency operations plan, then they'll at least see the whole thing. Unless we put our entire emergency operations plan into the ordinance, then if people see the ordinance, they're going to think that maybe this is all that exists. Even if it refers to the emergency operations plan separately, it might not. They might not be encouraged enough to go and seek out that document and get all of the information like they probably should in cases of emergency, especially. That being said, keeping it simple, like Melanie was just explaining, I think is a really appropriate way of approaching, telling people, look at, our emergency operations plan that we've spent so much time putting together in a very thorough manner. And I don't want people to just see the brief skimmed over version of our very thorough plan that we spent so much time, that Melanie especially has spent so much time putting together. I really think that we should be directing people to that in a more direct manner.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Joe.
And I can understand Katie's concern in there, and we can put something in that directs them to it. but having a piece of regulation and control that talks about those particular pieces of it is not going to go and see small things about regulation and control and basically the succession of authority and go, oh, well, this is all the plan has, especially if we're directing him the top to see there's more to the plan. This is just the stuff that we've set in an ordinance that is being guided by law that our plan, adheres to. That sets it, and that basically sets things that people are more worried about, because those are areas of like, regulation and control that deems, how, the power that's granted to people to use money and finances and things in there. That's areas that I think there's a reason why those cities are put there, because they've made it ordinances and laws. They have to go through a process to change versus a plan that can be changed by simple interchanges, or they can be updated, by a quick vote of the council. I think that's why they do it. I mean, like I said, I wasn't there when they made those decisions, but that's what I've kind of taken from it. And like I said, I see law as a solid foundation and a solid stone to build upon. And those are areas I think that we need to be very concrete in. So.
Okay. Jerry?
My mic working now?
Yeah.
Okay, so quick question. For something to change in this emergency operations plan, it would require a vote of the council, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's just a phone number or minor.
I'm
name change.
I'm talking about major changes, so it says that substantial changes. So, for an ordinance to change, it requires a vote of the council, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't see a problem with it being written the way it is. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think we've all had a chance to speak on this. I think all hand raises are down. Anybody else wish to speak? This is it? No? Okay. So we'll go back to the motion that was on the floor with a second. Do you want to do a roll call on this?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's do a roll call on this.
Okay. Counselor Dunsmuir,
Yes.
Counselor Gates,
Yes.
Counselor Hughes,
Yes.
Counselor Lidkey,
No.
Counselor Strobel,
Yes.
Counselor Tenbush,
Yes.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. City, now we're moving on to the wastewater facility plan with Kurt McLeod. Is he?
He is here. Let me bring him in.
All right, great, thank you.
Mhm. There he is.
Hello, everybody. Now the fun stuff.
All right.
So we've had 2 meetings talking about the wastewater facility plan. Last month, I came to you just with some discussion about how we can modify the plan, some of the options. This month, what I've sent you is the final document. And in essence, what we've done is kind of step back and took a wider view of options. So what we've identified in this facility plan is now we're looking at maybe a window of a 40 or 50 year window as to where we anticipate the city of Estacada may grow. So what we've done is we looked at 3 different options for the wastewater treatment plant site location. And that's primarily the only thing that was in question, was where do we locate the plant? So we had 3 options. The first one, we looked at the shops site, which is the existing city shop site. Second, we looked at an industrial site, which would be in the industrial park along Homestead. Is it Farmstead or Homestead Road? And then third, we looked at a project that I'm calling in the county. So that would take us north of Folsom Road, which gets us back close to the river. So that the first site, the shop site, is a short-term, gives us a short-term cost advantage. It's about $6 million cheaper than the other 2 options, $5 to $6 million cheaper. However, the downside. I'll talk to you in a minute about how actually that $5 to $6 million differential is actually costs that you would pay ultimately in the future anyway. So it's really not a disadvantage, but in the short run, it'd be $5 or $6 million less. It of course consumes that frontage. And it also is the gateway sign into Estacada. So if we leave the plant there, of course, we still have the wastewater treatment plant as people when they first pull into town. The second site, the industrial site, which we had a nice site picked out there. The downside was that you'd have a longer run to get to the river. This is compared to the shop site. This is the $5 or $6 million more because we'll have very expensive land to purchase. We're close to more residential, commercial, industrial areas. And then we have pump stations. We have an additional pump station to build to use this site. And this doesn't provide for any growth or expansion of the urban growth boundary. So the third option we looked at was if we picked a site further north of town, and we can go about 2 miles plus, 2.5 miles north of town, still with a nice gravity flow. We got about a little more than 0.5% slope, taking gravity sewers all the way north. We anticipate that's the area where the city will grow. The expansion of the city I anticipate would be north, between the highway and the river, maybe even across the highway. The benefit of that site was that it's a lot of land. The land is much less expensive. It's very isolated. And it also promotes for a long-term benefit to the community in that it can provide service for, like I mentioned, decades. So in an overview, I'm going to give you a breakdown of the cost just so you understand the decision you're going to make. As I mentioned, it's about $5 or $6 million. And so if I look at the county site first versus let me back up one step. The county site versus the city's industrial site are comparably cost. They're just $500,000 or so apart. The difference is you're investing a lot more money in a river outfall and a lot more money in land and pump stations to go to the industrial part. So if we can achieve the same result with a treatment facility that is on gravity, eliminates a pump station, shorter outfall, and provides for expansion of your future urban growth boundary all the way to Folsom or further, I think it's a no-brainer that the industrial park site would be eliminated. So I'm only comparing the city shop sites to the county site. And the difference is the county site, I'm going to give you a list of the additional costs to use the county site. So first of all, I anticipate we'd have to pay about $400,000 for land. And of course, if we use the city's shop site, we wouldn't have to pay anything for land. Second, we have about $3.1 million for a pump station that we would need to install at the current wastewater treatment plant location. And that's to collect all of our existing flow and send it all to the north. Third, we have about $3.6 million in that gravity trunk line that goes about 12,000 feet from Park Avenue all the way to north of Folsom Road. And by putting that gravity trunk in, it allows us to eliminate the campus pump station and eliminate that future pump station we have in the northwest corner of the urban growth boundary. And then the last thing is we have about $400,000 for a new outfall to the river, which we would not need to do if we use the city shop site. Now, the savings of going to that county site is that we eliminate a $1.25 million pump station for that northwest urban growth area. Plus, it allows us to repurpose the existing wastewater treatment plant site and the city shops site. So this anticipates that the city shops would relocate. I know that our task is only looking at the wastewater treatment plant, but from what I hear in the council discussion is I think the interest is truly in to vacate that entire riverfront property. So I think there's about a $2 million value in that 8 acres, and that's after we remove all of the development that we have on it. And then third, we have that $3.6 million gravity trunk main that I talked about to get to Folsom. That is going to be the primary backbone of your system for the next 50 years. So as growth continues, you will use that gravity line to be able to serve any properties that are annexed into the urban growth boundary. So I think that the document that I sent you, I don't know if you had a chance to peruse it, it simply incorporated all the discussion we had at the last meeting. The next step it would be to send it to DEQ, but our recommendation in that report is that we adopt the county as our goal, moving the wastewater treatment plant north of Folsom Road. We can get down to there's a bench, a lower bench down there that's isolated from most everything. There's no residential development close by. So that's our recommendation in the report. Now on page 4 of the document, there's just a summary of all the costs if you have questions. What we've identified is in the 1 to 5 year task, we have about $25.8 million worth of work we need to do. And the bulk of that's 15 million aid for a wastewater treatment plant. Then the other things is that gravity trunk at 3.6 million, the wastewater treatment plant, those are the major cost items. In the 6 to 10 years, I anticipate we would need to abandon the Park Avenue pump station. By that time, we'll be seeing development in the industrial park and have a ability to just abandon the campus pump station and run by gravity further to the north. And then in the 11 to 20 years, the only thing we see is that the Lakeshore pump station will need to be expanded, and what I've called the west side pump station, so that's the residential property across the river, we'll need to put a pump station in there. So that in total, we're at $27.4 million for a 20-year capital improvement plan. So that's easy. We're talking big dollars, but we have a lot of succinct projects that I think are very well quantified in this report. So what questions have you got?
Wow, that's a good question. Let me ask everybody, do you have any specific questions you want to ask Kurt that refers to this, or what? He was pretty open with the way he explained that. I really absorbed a lot of this and I looked it over. In your personal opinion, if you were a city of our size looking to the future in what we propose for Folsom Road, would you say that this is a smart move looking towards that overall?
I'd say this is a smart move in any perspective, because once we stepped back and took a bigger picture view, if we spent the money at the city shop site, and if we spent the money at the industrial park site, we're spending a lot of money and we're not achieving near the goal you would achieve if we went to Folsom. 20 years from now, they will appreciate being at Folsom. Whereas 20 years from now, they'd be rebuilding the plant at the industrial park or at the city shop site. And trying to determine how to collect that area north of the urban growth boundary and pumping it all the way back to these other sites. I think there's no question. It's a painful capital improvement plan, but it's a very aggressive one that I think future generations will appreciate. I look to the city of Sandy, where their plant, is 5 miles out of town. And although I have to say they didn't size their collection system adequately to really take advantage of it, because now they find they're limited in the capacity of their trunk mains. But we're proposing a 30-inch trunk main that goes to your plant, which can handle about, I think I did the numbers, I think it was about 15 million gallons a day, which you don't need that much. But we have about a 6 MGD peak that we're projecting for the next 20 years. I think there's no question. Of course, the feedback may be that it's expensive, but you are investing in your future. We need to determine how best we can recover the cost to pay for it. We need to make sure that future connections pay for it. And so we're not burdening the community with that cost, but I think that's a manageable task.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, for everything that you do, you've went out and you've researched this heavily. And I appreciate that, because this is a big decision, and the amount of money we're talking is no small dollar. But you've done a great job explaining it to where I can understand it fully, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Is the council have any other questions to ask Kurt on this before we go on? I mean, Joel?
I just want to say thank you, Kurt. I know that I've put a lot of questions at you over the course of the last few months, and I've put a lot of requirements on things that I've pushed and things, and I really appreciate your time and effort in this and the information you brought forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, Sean, this is Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Question, Kurt. We've got a lot to do to secure that that location and secure the property or whatever rights to the property between that location and the river, what kind of time frame are we looking at for that? Do we have a point where we say, we've done all we can do? We've got this location, or we don't have this location and we need to move to plan B. What kind of time frame do we need to be looking at as we start looking to secure the county location?
With the amount of growth that the city is seeing, the time frame is we need to do everything now. We're not tied to any single property. So, and I think we're going to talk about that in a few minutes in executive session. But what we need to do is just immediately work to bring all the ends together. We've got land use action to work with. We've got property to negotiate. We've got designs to complete. So there's simply a lot of work to do. I don't think there's a dead end if we go to Folsom and find that a property owner is not willing to sell us property. We simply need to keep looking until we find one, or we need to raise our offer until we can afford to buy a piece. But I've got some information we can talk about in executive session here in a few minutes. So I do think it's important to move ahead. Portland State University came out in the last month and a half with new population estimates for the city of Estacada, and I believe they're about a 25% increase last year, which is crazy. That's crazy high number. So their forecast, their 20-year forecast was 1.5% per year, yet they documented a 25% increase last year. So it's painful, but I think we've got 2 or 3 years. We simply need to get on it and move ahead. There's no dead end. If we get to a closed door, we'll simply go a different direction, but we know where we want to go.
Okay. We appreciate you and thanks for explaining that. Any other questions? I don't see any hand raised symbols. So if you got something, go ahead and jump in. All right. Kurt, we thank you for everything that you do.
So I think what we want to do.
Do we need to adopt this, Kurt?
Yes, we want to get council concurrence, and then we'll send it to DEQ for their approval. And then once DEQ approves it, we'll come back for final approval of the council.
Okay.
So I think we want to approve it pending DEQ approval.
Yep.
So we need a vote on this. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Then you've heard Kurt McLeod and what we have going on here. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I'll move to approve the wastewater facility plan update pending the DEQ approval.
Okay,
Second.
great. Thank you, Katie. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? There you go.
Okay, thank you. I will turn that in DEQ then tomorrow.
All right, appreciate you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we are at the next citizen and community group comment. Sadie, do I have anybody in the holding?
Yes, Brent Dodrell.
Okay, great, thank you.
Bring him in.
Brent, sir. Are you there?
All right. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. I know that was a lot of work on that wastewater treatment plant. Thanks you for doing the hard work, and Kurt did a good job explaining that. So thank you. Hey, one last thing I forgot to ask concerning the Chamber of Commerce. We do send out a very well done newsletter, and I don't know if any of you are receiving the newsletter, but you really, really should. And I was told I should ask your permission to put you on our mailing list if you're not already. Now, I said we should just do it and then apologize later, but really ask permission. So I'm going to just ask now if we can put you guys on that mailing list, and maybe you can let staff know if we can do that, and then we can get those email addresses. I do know they're on the website, but I just want to let you guys know there's a lot going on, and that newsletter gives you all the details regularly. So if you're not on it, I hope I can get you on there soon. That's it. Thank you guys again for all your hard work. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate that. So is everybody comfortable with that? If we direct staff to allow those newsletters to hit us all? All right, great, thank you. All right, staff, you're well directed on the newsletters. All right, anybody else in the group comment?
I don't see any hands raised. I'll give it just a moment to see if anybody does want to speak. Nope, I don't see any hands raised.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're moving into mayor council reports and comments. So I will start off with you, Jerry, since you're closest to me.
Honestly, there's so much I could say. All that's going on right now in this town with local government and everything. There's so much I could say, but I'm just gonna say, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, staff. You did an amazing job as always. Yeah, that's all. I thank you guys.
Okay, thank you, Charity.
Thanks. I hope everybody had a nice holiday, a good new year. Kind of like what Jerry said, there's a lot to say. I feel like this council is a reflection of the United States right now. We are so polarized and divisive, and you know what? I don't even really know you guys. I see you on a screen. I've seen you in person a couple of times. I've had some conversations with Councilor Litke. He's been very kind. I've had run into Councilor Strobel in the store. We're normal human beings to one another. This is not normal, okay? This Zoom stuff, it's not normal. This whole 2 years, it's been divisive, and it's been nothing but conflict and strife. I've been a very quiet council member. I've sat back, I've observed, I'm trying to glean information, I'm trying to learn from you guys, especially you veterans. We need to do better. We need to do better for our community. The divisiveness is disgusting on all sides. Okay. I wasn't going to say this, but maybe I will. Last council meeting, we had a community member call in, and I was actually a little bit offended when this community member said that our council needed to be babysat by our city manager. It was something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. And I was a little bit offended. I was like, well, wait, what? Like, I think we do a pretty good job. Yeah, we kind of get into some tips every once in a while, but we can't even have a discussion about our emergency operations plan without people blowing up about it. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, maybe she's right. So I'd really appreciate it if we could keep the emotions under control. I mean, now I'm emotional, and I'm kind of the calm and cool and collected type person. And so we've really got to just look at information presented, take some time. If Councilor Litke wants to examine something a little bit further, take a deeper dive, I don't have a problem with it. I'm fine with asking some questions. Melanie clarified some stuff up for me. It all made sense. Fine. It's no big deal. It's no big deal to spend an extra 5 minutes. And sometimes it's no big deal to pass something through that, I don't see why that's an issue, why we need to make it an issue. Anyway, all that to say, I appreciate all of you guys. You guys do an amazing job, and you work very hard. And I just wish we could come to a place where we can have a normal civil conversation and a normal civil meeting with one another. It's not hard, you guys. If we hadn't gone through the past 2 years, we'd probably all be sitting around at each other's backyards and having a barbecue and laughing and looking at our kids and talking about sports and whatever else. But no, we're nitpicking because everything's gotten so hard and so divisive and so polarized. We have to be better for this community. We are setting the example for these people. That's all I have for now. And I really wish you guys the best next couple weeks, and let's try to do better at next meeting. And I really do care about you guys, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. That's it.
Well said, Charity. I thank you for that. Justin.
Yeah, I'm like you, Charity. I don't say much either, but I definitely appreciate everything that you just said. I think you're spot on with all of that. So it's nice to see some emotions in that direction. Emotions are not a bad thing to have at all. I would say that I am getting tired of seeing the attack in this community. I'm tired of seeing people get attacked. I don't appreciate that at all. And I want to say that there is a lot of due diligence that is done in this city and by our staff and by our counselors. And due diligence doesn't have to be on this screen. When we talk to community members, when we talk to staff outside of this meeting, that is doing due diligence. That is doing our research. That is doing what we're supposed to be doing. So, again, I'm tired of getting attacked. I'm tired of hearing those kind of things as well. And not just towards me, but towards others. And, I agree with you, Charity. And hey, if you want to come over and have a barbecue and have the kids play in the backyard, I'm down. I'm totally down for that stuff. So I appreciate you and what you said, and I appreciate everybody else for what they've brought to the table here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Joel.
So yeah, I agree with what Charity said. It was a very heartfelt, and she has some great points. And as earlier, I did get a little bit emotional because I do have a lot coming at me with people that are seeing council meetings and feeding me information from all sides of the belt there. And so, some things I hear consistently is, well, some good things were brought up in that meeting. Wasn't there additional research done or additional time taken to consider those? And that's where I come in with the due diligence statements, is when we had a chance to talk about it, there's the new viewpoints come up, and they should be sometimes investigated or sought about, because, while we talk to a lot of community members, when we actually have a chance to discuss it as a council, we should all be, on the same page of something when we come to a vote. The vote of yeses and nos should be something that we see a lot less of opposing. And so that's why I propose to take more time to do due diligence and to have more discussion on it, so we can make sure that we are actually on the same page and there's not questions left to us or our community members. But many a times, yes, some things need to happen on the screen because this is what the people see out there as well, as the fact that we are taking time to make sure that it's explained to them, that we are showing them all the facets so they understand it, because they may not go through a 700-page packet like some of us might go through, and they may not do all the research that we do. So this is our chance to present that information to them in a city council meeting. And that is why I push for taking the time to slow things down and do the due diligence and to explain it and ask the questions, so that they feel like they know that we've done our job, and they can see that we've done our job by explaining and covering those pieces. But I do apologize, Justin, earlier for getting an argument with me that was unprofessional with me, and it was bad conduct of mine, and I apologize. So, and I'll take that position. But and I actually had something I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, but I think it was covered enough by Councillor Hughes about the fact is we are very divisive, and a lot of divisive stuff going on in our community, and there's a lot of political attacks going on, both here from in the council and out of the council. And I think it is something that basically gets in the way of getting the job done. We've all spent a lot of time working on this water treatment plan, and I think it's starting to show where we all seem to be somewhat on the same page of getting this water treatment plan done, because we've done a lot of work on it, a lot of due diligence, investigating and talking. And so we've moved ourselves to that common page. And that's what I'm talking about on these things. And yes, I know there's a lot of times I bring up a lot of questions and things on stuff. It's because either A, it's something that I've looked at and it doesn't make sense to me, or there's things I've seen that should at least be considered by us or the community before we move forward. And I'm not doing it to slow things down, but to make sure that I at least feel that people feel like I've done that piece and to have brought those up at least to light. So I appreciate everybody. And I know we are all volunteers here. No one's paid to do it. We're here to represent the people, and not one of us can represent everybody. Jerry represents a different set of people than I do. Charity does. Justin, you do. All of us represent different sets of people, and together we're meant to represent all of them together and to have that covering. And so it really is on us, like Charity said, for us to learn to be able to discuss those and take the time to do that and be able to see different points of views. And so I appreciate everybody. I appreciate your sacrifice and hard work, and I'm looking forward to a good new year.
Thank you. Katie.
I just want to thank city staff for all your time and all your hard work into putting together today's packet. I also just want to acknowledge everybody who is currently sick with COVID, whether you're in the hospital or recovering at home. My thoughts are with you. There are lots of members of our community who are homesick right now. And I just want everyone to know that we care about you and we see you. And I hope that everyone has a speedy recovery. And that is all I have tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Paul.
Yeah, I guess a couple things from my end. I'm very happy with what Charity said as well too. I support what she said, especially the point where we all have to do a better job of getting along and a better job of supporting and serving the community as well too. I do feel like each and every one of us has the best interest of the community at heart in much of what we do. I believe that strongly, and I think we need to have that confidence in one another as well too. I think what Councilor Litke brought up about doing due diligence, yep, agree with that completely as well too. But as Councilor Gates brought up, a lot of due diligence is done already outside of the meetings, outside of the screen time. And I think the staff just does a great job working tirelessly to get stuff ready for us and to go through the fine details to make sure things are in place. Yes, we need to hold people accountable, absolutely, but we also need to do a great job of showing support of one another and the staff on screen and when we're just talking to folks in the community as well too. I think that's something that we can do just a great job to show the confidence that we have in the hard work that the staff does. And then switching gears a little bit, the wildfires in Colorado, man, they brought up all sorts of feelings and just thinking about our responsibilities as a city in all the building that's going on around here, all the growth that is happening, especially in a very rural town as well too. I think we need to be making sure that we're doing the right thing, and I think we are for the most part, but doing the right thing as we work to support the growth in such a small rural forested community like Estacada. I heard that Oregon Senate Bill 762 is being looked at and discussed now, and I need to learn more about that, what it is, but as I understand it, lays some groundwork for what is happening or how better to handle wildfires. A very proactive approach and maybe even setting some guidelines and code for building as well too. So look forward to learning about 762 more and look forward to working whatever comes out of that we can into our city plans as well too. Otherwise, thank you for voting me in again as the council president. Look forward to serving the council in that way in this upcoming year, 2022. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's a hard one to beat. You all were spot on. You all put it into perspective. I think we all understand where it is we're at. I've been here a long time now on the council and as the mayor, and I can honestly tell you, I have seen this council at its best, and I've seen us at our worst. And lately, in the last couple of years, we've definitely been at our worst. And I've been looking for a way to fix that, and I don't know how to do it without your help. I really don't. I can't fix everything. I'm just the guy who sits in the chair of this council. I respect each and every one of you to no end. And I think you all have great ideas and you all know what to do. How to fix this tension, I'm not sure. It's all over. Everywhere I go, it's like that. I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you I'll help as much as I possibly can. And if we ever get to a point, let's talk. Let's go into a park with masks on and have that barbecue that Charity was talking about. I don't care what it takes, but let's get along. Let's try to do the right thing by the people that elected us. Because when I'm looking out there at what we've done, I went on and looked at back meetings just to see where it all changed, where everything got different. I watched every meeting we've had and file. And I was shocked. I could see where it started going the other way. I know we're better than that. I've seen us at our best. Like I said, we were getting things done. It was amazing. I just want to be back there. And Charity, I think you really nailed it. And I appreciate everything you just said, because it really put it into perspective, emotion and all. That's exactly what it feels like to me. I was kind of sick to my stomach knowing that we were going to have this meeting tonight before we even had it, because I thought there was going to be people calling in to condemn one or the other of us, or tell us we're bad, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do that. You know, that's hard on anybody to take that day in, day out. So we've got to figure out a way to fix this, but we'll do it. We'll do it because I know you'll do it. You're the best of the best. You're sitting here. You're making the right decisions. You're talking. And we've all got it out there now. So I know it's only going to get better. So I appreciate you. So thank you. Now, that said, we're going to go into executive session here. And does anybody want to take a quick minute before we do that? Is that okay? All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And we need all the attendees to leave the meeting now.
All right. We'll ask that all the attendees leave. Shall I read the
Yeah.
script?
You can wait
Yeah.
until we come back if you like.
All right.
But
great.
we can let them leave. Yeah.
All right. I will leave that. All right. Just quick break. All right, so we are coming out of executive session. We are now going back into city council. Everybody may return to the council chamber if they wish to. And in that, I will need a motion as we discussed. And we can move on. So can I get a motion? Am I not hearing anything here?
This is just such a complicated one. All right.
It is a
I'll-
complicated one. I'm glad you stepped up, Paul. Good man.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the purchase of easements to extend the water line in the amount discussed in the executive session. And then the other part, there will not be part of the reimbursement. What's the rest of that one?
A reimbursement district.
There will not be a part of the reimbursement district?
Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a second? All right, I
Second.
have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you and lead on. And I hope this goes successfully and I hope we can get started on this.
We get back to you quickly, I hope. We'll see.
All right, great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. We appreciate you giving your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. See you later.
See you later. And we appreciate all of council and everything that you do and city staff as well. You've done the hard work on this and thank you. And Sadie, thank you. And everybody have a great evening and get some sleep and
Thank
come
you.
back.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
This meeting is adjourned.